Hi everybody, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports, and welcome to the finale of March of the Worst Films of 2014. No surprise since it's already April, but that's besides the point. Now, when I say the worst films of 2014, what do you think of? Some have said that a CGI sequel about a princess who was cursed to be a swan finally adopting a child was bad, but to me it tugged at my heart. And there was also an interesting film that focused on a famous Disney villain, but I thought it was a really good one as well. And also there was an animated Oz film that I liked as well. But the real bad ones that I recently looked at were a bad action film that starred 4 heroes in a half shell. And there was also a bad science fiction thriller that focused on the brain. And while those two were bad, they to me aren't the worst films of 2014. Now, for those who don't know, I act at this community theater in Irvine called Musical Theater Village. And they put on some fantastic shows like Sound of Music, Hello Dolly, Music Man, Scrooge, and more. And if you recall last spring, I took a look at the 2011 adaptation of Footloose. And still today, it's disappointing. Just when I thought it would be the only movie based on a stage musical that would be considered bad, another one comes along and hurts me and my theater friends even more. But before I get started, let me talk about the cute, heartwarming Broadway musical, Annie. What started out as a comic book became a stage show in 1977 with music by Charles Strauss, lyrics by Martin Sherman, and a book by Thomas Meehan. The original Broadway production ran for nearly 6 years, setting a record for the Alvin Theater, now the Neil Simon Theater today. It spawned numerous productions in many countries, as well as national tours, and won the Tony Award for Best Musical. The songs, Tomorrow and Hard Knock Life, are among the most popular musical numbers in the whole show. The story takes place in New York City, 1933. It tells the story of a young red-headed girl, who's the same name as the title, who's kept in an orphanage run by a cruel, abusive woman, and later ends up in the lap of luxury with Depression-era billionaire Oliver Warbucks. Unlike most of the children at Miss Hannigan's orphanage, Spunky Annie believes that her parents are still alive and will one day return to reclaim her. But when Mr. Warbucks offers to adopt her, she asks the most powerful man in America to help find her real mother and father instead, and he agrees. Warbucks' wanting reward for Annie's parents attracts the attention of con artists Rooster, Lily, and the wicked Hannigan, who hatch a plot to kidnap Annie and take the $50,000 reward. But don't fret, this classic family musical has a happy ending for Annie, Daddy Warbucks, and the whole gang. So, the story was so wonderful to so many people that in 1982, the folks at Columbia Pictures made a movie based on the show, starring folks like Albert Finney, Carol Burnett, and also Tim Curry, Bernadette Peters, and of course, Aileen Quinn. That movie was a great one to me, but that was not all. In 1995, a sequel was made for TV called Annie, A Royal Adventure, which stars Ashley Johnson, who you may remember who voiced Tara from Teen Titans. Taking place 2 years after the original, Annie, her father Oliver Warbucks, along with her friends Hannah and Molly, go on a trip to London where Warbucks is going to be knighted. While there, some sinister people plan to use a rocket to blow up Buckingham Palace. Now, unlike the 1982 film, this one isn't really much of a musical, but it does have the famous song Tomorrow at the end, and it does give a happy ending for Molly. Then, in 1999, Walt Disney Television gave us their own version of Annie, which included folks like Victor Garber, Kathy Bates, Alan Cumming, Kristen Chenoweth, and of course, Alicia Morton. In my opinion, that one actually acts almost exactly like the Broadway musical. Now, during my times at Musical Theater Village, I've been in Annie several times as a few characters. In 2009, I was an apple seller, a guy in a lobster suit, and a cook. But then in 2012, I was given 5 roles. I was a newsie, Drake the Butler, an NYC mime, Henry Morgenthau, and Jimmy Johnson. And, well, this year, me and my friends are doing Annie again, and most of my roles this time, to me, aren't as memorable as back in 2012. However, the adaptation of Annie I'll be looking at today makes the past 3 films look like masterpieces in comparison. Never before have I seen a movie so poorly written and so insulting to the original show. Well, with all that said, might as well get started. Or else I'll be stuck in my room and cuffed forever. Released on December 19th, 2014, the movie, unfortunately, is Annie. Let's get this over with already. In this modern remake of the classic Broadway show Annie, the character Annie is portrayed as this beautiful little 10 to 12-year-old little girl, hopelessly lost within the New York City foster care child program. Yet smart, tough, and bright enough to survive the fast-paced New York City streets. Forced to stay with her mean foster mom, Miss Hannigan, Annie somehow manages to tough it out in Harlem until one day she accidentally and literally runs into the wealthy billionaire and NYC mayoral candidate Will Stacks. Saving her almost being hit by a car while simultaneously being videotaped by an unknown passerby. Stacks and his political team decide to use the life-saving incident to boost his polls for the upcoming NYC election. Taking Annie into his penthouse home, Stacks begins to fall head over heels for the adorable little Annie. Meanwhile, Annie only has one hope, and that is for her parents to someday come back and rescue her from the foster care program. So, how was this confusing travesty of a movie remake to me? Well, excuse me for a second. This movie was awful! Seriously, have the people behind this film ever seen the show on stage or seen the original films? You know what? Let's just do Mustang notes before my head hurts from this garbage. Now, Sony first announced the remake in January 2011. Jay-Z and Will Smith served as producers, and Smith's daughter Willow was attached to play the lead role. In February 2011, Glee co-director Ryan Murphy became frontrunner to direct the film, but by March he had declined. The production soon began seeking a screenwriter, and actress Emma Thompson was considered. No development arrived until May 2012, when Will Smith appeared on Good Morning America and provided updates, including that the film would be set in modern-day New York, that Thompson was providing a script, and that Jay-Z would also provide newly written songs for the film. In July 2012, We Bought a Zoo screenwriter Aileen Brosh McKenna wrote a second draft of the script. In August, it was announced production was to begin in spring 2013. And then, in January 2013, Easy A director Will Gluck was hired to direct it. Now, in my eyes, the story is very similar but poor to the show, because it's set in modern-day New York. I mean, look, I know people in films like to do that to make it more relatable to the kids, but changing the setting from 1933 to modern day takes away the feeling of the show. Almost like what Hallmark did to Dinotopia in the early 2000s, and several other films like Gulliver's Travels and the two Journey to the Center of the Earth films went through that as well. Now, what are my thoughts on the songs? Well, let me see. The song Maybe was, well, sweet, and it does seem to match the feeling of the show, so that's 1 point to the movie. Also, Hard Knock Life was okay, but with different lyrics. Tomorrow was superb, and it almost matches the show's version. Score 2 for the movie. And I think I'm gonna like it here song, doesn't really match the show because of its, well, different style, but it does show the indoor swimming pool and Annie's new bed. And, well, to me, the song Little Girls from the show was not really that great, but it's even worse in this version. But, what are my thoughts on the new songs? Well, The City Yours is not that bad, to me. Also, Opportunity, it kind of matches the song Annie sings in the radio scene in the show. And also the villain song Easy Street is messed up. And in my eyes, the people who made this film must have been singing this while making this movie. I mean, if you listen to it, you'll know what I mean. And also, the other songs like Who Am I is just so cliched. In other words, it's crap. And the finale song, I Don't Need Anything But You, goes okay until it's ruined at the end. Plus, there's songs like Never Fully Dressed Without a Smile is sung in the background. and Something Was Missing plays an instrumental version. Now, there are some other things I need to mention, for example, that differentiate, well, similar, but some parts differentiate from the show. Now, let's start out with Annie's note in the beginning. Well, this one seems to be another thing that's unchanged from the show. It has the same description from the show, so I guess that's score 3 for the movie. And also Annie's dog Sandy, while we at Musical Theater Village don't include her in the show, she's a completely different breed from the past Sandys that I've seen, so I guess I can let that slide as well. But the negatives I have to mention, there are a few pop culture references, like they mentioned Batman and Jimmy Neutron. There are a few spit and, well, throw-up jokes that are disgusting in this movie. There are a few bad pop songs that play in the background, and there's far too much paparazzi. Plus, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook never existed in the show. And what's even upsetting is that the President of the United States is not visited in the movie. Now, let me just take a little moment to think before we move on to the cast. And, well, I have to say that this is the first time I actually use a test pattern for this show. Okay, now let's talk about the actors of this movie. Now, our title character, Annie Bennett, was originally going to be played by Willow Smith, but she dropped out and the role was given to Quivitzane Wallace. Now, to be honest, she has a decent performance. She has a similar Annie personality, and she's not a bad singer. But unlike the Broadway Annie, she can't read, but on the other hand, she knows how to cook. And not a bad job either, since I don't remember the past Annies cooking for Oliver Warbucks. Now, before I move on, I want to say this. Quivitzane, I like your performance, and it's not too bad, but I like the original Annie better. Remember this, Hollywood. Speaking of Oliver Warbucks, let's move on to Annie's adoptive father in this film, who is named William Stacks, a wealthy politician and cell phone mogul played by Jamie Foxx. Now, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against Jamie Foxx. In my eyes, he's one of the funniest comedians of today. He even does a great job singing with will.i.am in the Rio movies. And he was also a badass villain in Spider-Man's recent movie. Now, Stacks' personality is pretty similar to Warbucks. Kinda. I mean, mostly he's a money-grubbing guy who wants to be New York's mayor and seems to care only for himself throughout this film, but he does grow on Annie as the movie progresses. Plus, his house in this film is a high-tech smart house and not a mansion, which I wish it could have been a mansion, though. And he doesn't have that many servants, except, well, let's move on to the next characters and I'll tell you. Grace Farrell, Stacks' personal assistant, and Annie's mother figure is played by Rose Bryan. Now, in my opinion, she seems to be the only character unchanged from the show. So I guess that's another point to the movie. She's really nice, and she almost makes me think of a few women who served as aides and counselors who helped me out throughout my life, and, well, that's all I need to say about her. Next we come to Nash, the tough but lovable bodyguard and driver for Stax, and, well, a good friend of Annie, played by Adewale Akinoi. Sorry, his name is pretty hard to pronounce, but all I know him for being in was last year's Pompeii movie. He has the same traits as Punjab and the Asp from the original films, but in my eyes, he has the same personality as Drake the Butler from the show. I mean, watch My Secret Handshake with Annie when I was Drake back in 2012. Next is Guy Gamberling, a bulldog political advisor to Stax, played by Bobby Cannavale. This guy is a tad despicable. While he's mostly trying to help Stax become mayor, he can usually lead him astray, and also later try to get rid of Annie. What a jerk this guy is. Next we have the absolute worst character in the film, Miss Colleen Hannigan, the cruel control freak of the foster home, played by Princess Fiona herself, Cameron Diaz. And her character name is supposed to be Agatha, not Colleen. Now, next to Lady Tremaine from Cinderella, I hate this character. I mean, sure, she's a drunk and she's abusive towards children like in the show, but unlike the show, she was part of a band and got fired later on. Plus, Cameron does horrible when singing. Man, she had better roles in such films like The Mask and Shrek than this. Seriously. Next, we have Lou, the local bodega owner, played by David Zayas, who is a friend of Annie and has a crush on Miss Hannigan. He evokes the traits of Mr. Bundles from the show, and my thoughts on him, he's annoying, trying to flirt with her and also trying to impress her. And lastly, we come to Tracy Toms and Dorian Mizik as Annie's fake parents, two characters hired by Guy Gambling, who are the same styles as Lily St. Regis and Rooster Hannigan, who are absent in this show. Now it's time to move on to my final words of this movie. Overall, this movie is a huge insult to the Annie stage musical and its 3 film versions. Only acting is good for a modern audience, and some of the songs aren't that bad either, though they don't live up to the show itself. Everything else about this movie is completely horrible. It's worse than Footloose 2011, that's saying a lot. The time setting is wrong, the story is cliched as hell, and some of the characters are embarrassing, despicable, and annoying. If any of you viewers out there want to watch the older Annie films, then by all means, go right ahead. There are currently 3 out there. There's Annie 1982, Annie A Royal Adventure, and also Disney's Annie from 1999. Heck, go buy the songs from the show from iTunes if you want. But, if you'd like to see a stage show based on Annie performed at Musical Theater Village, then go to this link for information on tickets. But, you only have until May 10th to see it. But whatever you do, do not watch this horrible, unnecessary abomination of a movie musical. I give this piece of musical raping crap a 13% out of 100. It doesn't even deserve the Annie name. Well, Anti-Josh, that was 3 blows worth of pain. Can I get released now?
Indeed you can.
Free at last.
You've done a good job, Mustang. I've also unjammed your door so you can come and go as you wish.
Thank God. Now please, leave me in peace.
Very well, Mustang Prince. Ciao.
Now, it's time for me to destroy this film so I don't have to hurt anybody with it ever again. Blow in hell, you stupid movie! Well, that's all for now. Be sure to join me after Easter for my next vlog. Hopefully by then I'll find something that'll make me feel even better than this. Mustang power.